What's up, everybody? Just wanted to tune in here for a very real and vulnerable conversation with my brother Sean. Sean and I, for those of you guys that don't know us, we work individually and together within the realm of transformation and just supporting all people from all walks of life to really heal themselves, to open their hearts, and really begin to live the life they desire. And a lot of our passion resides within the men's space, and we've been working in that space for a while. And you know, just to be fully clear, vulnerable, and honest and transparent, right now I'm going through a massive personal experience, which is calling me into the deepest of faith and trust, and allowing me to really expand to a whole nother level. It's one of the biggest catalysts I think I've ever experienced in my life. And I was calling Sean for support, just to hold some space for me to share some of my feelings this morning. And that then linked now to us hopping on in the moment of inspiration when it hits, to share a very important message around healing the feminine, which is deeply personal as well as deeply entrenched within the collective, and what we're navigating currently and what we've been navigating for thousands of years, of the rejection, the abandonment of the feminine, both within and without. And this is a very important conversation that everybody needs to be having, including and most importantly us men. And so, yeah, as that's the introduction. I'll toss it over to you to kind of maybe open the space a little bit about what's at stake here. What's the bigger picture? Why are we having this conversation today?
Yeah, I feel like this is such a beautiful and one of the most important conversations that you can have, and I just really appreciate you, man, for in your state of vulnerability and moving through this process, like being willing to come on here and record this, because this is the medicine. Like what you're feeling right now gets translated onto what we share on this video, and people are able to feel that. And I think a lot of content and things that you see on the internet right now and what things are people are talking about, it's really void of that. It's like, are we really seeing things day to day that really drop us into our heart and make us feel something beyond like our usual emotional constellation that we cycle through? It seems like it's getting more rare. So this to me is so important to be able to share when we're in that place, and the inspiration is there, and it comes from a place of wanting to support our brothers, because obviously the men are carrying a huge wound of numbness and disconnection, and this is how our over many years, men's feminine side has been shut down, and it's been kind of washed over with the rigidity of the masculine side of things, which is okay, and it's part of our evolution. But we're starting to see a lot of really deep issues and things going on right now, because men have not been able to feel. They will do anything to get away from feeling those deepest wounds, from feeling the emotions that have been causing their deepest pain. And so I think this conversation is a really powerful introduction for any man who's watching, to let you know, like, hey man, it's okay, and it's actually necessary to feel. It's the only way to move out of that reality and out of that pain and that trauma circulating over and over again, that depression. You got to feel your way through it. There's literally no other way. So I just wanted to open with that, and we can kind of
Mm,
take it from here.
yeah. Yeah, I love that. And so what are the repercussions and the consequences of men not feeling, right? This is the question we start with, because if we're in this space where we're unable to access the depth of our emotions, the depth of our heart, then we are essentially living closed to life. And what does that do? What are the consequences of that externally? Never mind eternally, which is a suppressed, repressed life, living small, mediocrity, complacency, all the things that we see in men, addictions, destructive, self-destructive behaviors, and so forth. That's a conversation we'll get into. But externally, what does this do? This creates an unsafe environment, an unsafe world for the externalized version of the feminine, right? If we are shutting down the feminine within us, then essentially we're doing the same externally. And what have we seen playing out in history? You know, the witch hunts, women being burned at the stake, women not feeling safe to be themselves fully, not women not having a conscious, intentional space being held for them. And so, what does this create in the feminine? This creates fear. This creates terror. All of the rejection, the betrayal, the abandonment, the externalized version of the feminine has experienced time after time over millennia, creates an environment where they then feel they have to do it themselves. They then feel that they have to be these independent women because ultimately they've had to be. They haven't had
Mm,
the space where a man can actually truly sit there amongst the storms and the chaos of her emotions and be that oak tree to hold that container for her. And that is really at the core of this work. A man stepping into this space of doing this work is a way of not only healing the relationship they have to themselves, but to the feminine externally. And for women to finally be able to drop into their natural, beautiful, often, wild, feminine presence is one of the most beautiful but most powerful things. And they haven't had
mm,
the space for us as men to be able to hold that. And so we see these women self-sacrificing and making all of these decisions and living from this place of not being resourced, being overwhelmed and in so many ways. And look at all the single mothers in the world, the mothers that have had to do it by themselves because they haven't had the men. It reminds me of a billboard I saw driving in Buffalo one time, and it says, something around, men, are you ready to learn how to be a dad today? That's the problem we have right now, because these
mm,
men as a collective are unable to hold that. So these women are just doing it all alone. And so
mm,
now we have this big collective problem where it's been a rejection of the feminine within and without. And it's
mm,
time to heal that. And as we heal that, we heal this world, because this earth is feminine. It's the mother. She is the representation of it all.
mm.
So it's fucking time.
Yeah. And if you're cut off from your feminine and you're numb and you're not feeling, you're disconnected from life, you're disconnected from the earth, you're disconnected from other people, even people that you love. And that channel of empathy is just really closed off. And that empathy is what helps us to have compassion. It allows us to care. It allows us to, um, move our life force in a direction that feels purposeful to us, instead of just like being checked out and running through cycles of addiction because we were never taught how to properly feel and what our feminine nature actually is. And then, of course, for men, that manifests in your relationships and it causes a lot of unnecessary stress and hardship, because really, in so many ways, it's like it's on you to kind of lead that. Now, I think we're finding a balance so both people can meet in the same place together. But I think in the context of a relationship, it's like we have to go first. We have to be the leader in that direction and hold that space for that emotion. And if we can't hold it within ourselves, we can't hold it for anyone else. And the moment we allow our emotions to be an experience instead of this like personalized thing that we're terrified to look at because it has a story attached to it that was so painful for us at one point, it's like give yourself the gift for all of it. And this is why men have to come together, because it's such a permission slip. It's like, hey, those stories attached to those emotions are not correct. We get to correct them now, but the only way to do that is to feel them all the way through. Like an example that I'll give just to make it practical is, one of my huge lessons on the planet, my life curriculum has been around lack and scarcity, and purging out this survivalism where it's like you're only fixated on you and surviving, and you will not feel the depths of like like, wow, look at my life right now. I am not happy with it. This is not the man that I want to be. This is not the life that I want to have. Because you have to feel that all the way to actually make a change. And so I remember one day, I was so sick of running from it and circling around it that and this is when I was in between homes and I didn't know where I was going to live. And I was staying in a friend's house. I just laid down on the bed that they had for like 2 hours, and I just cried, and I just let all of that energy cycle through of like, oh my God, I'm gonna die, I'm gonna be homeless, like the shame that I had as a man for not having my shit together, like all of that just came out of my system. And yeah, it took like 2 hours because it had been building up for so long. But then after that was gone, it was like it's out of the nervous system, and I'm a safe space for that part of me that was so scared to feel that. Like that is so important to find that within yourself. Like you're beyond that emotion. The you that needs to feel that isn't you. You are the space for that emotion to be processed, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, obviously we've talked about this offline, but I mean, I can relate to that so deeply, gone and going through my own experiences, going to those depths, right? And fuck, they're intense. They're really intense, and but the great thing is that you notice that beneath all of that is this wellspring of peace, that is this wellspring of trust, of faith, of really just like leaning into life, and holy shit, that's a big experience. That's a lot to ask of somebody that hasn't been there, that's lived from the mind, that's lived from survival, that's lived from the state of fight or flight their entire lives. But when you can truly open yourself and lean into those depths, oh my God, the gold, the riches that are on the other side of that are just extraordinary. The amount of wealth and prosperity and abundance that sits there is all available, but it has to go through the feeling sense. It has to go into the dungeons of your consciousness to fucking fully feel radically, vulnerably, authentically. And yeah, I believe if there's one message to transmit and to share, with anybody listening to this message, to this experience, to this conversation right now, is that feel it to heal it. And when we can really have the spaces, the containers for us to all fall in together, whether that's having women's spaces, men's spaces, co spaces, and with which men and women are coming together, this is the work, this is the medicine, this is what we need so badly right now. We can't live in these isolated fucking silos any longer. It doesn't work. It doesn't work from a family structure. Look at the unhappy people that are raising kids that are just in this place of just fucking doing whatever they can to get by, to pay a mortgage, to pay their car bills, and then have a few bucks left to fucking do whatever they want to do, which is really not much at all. And to be in this miserable environment in which two people are just fighting all the time, ultimately, the percentage leaning towards getting divorced. We need community. We need spaces. We need people coming together more now than ever. And if we don't do this, it is, and I don't want to be fear mongering, but it is the demise of our species as we know it. Plain
Yeah.
and fucking simple.
Yeah.
So we need to change, and the time is now.
Yeah, and it's like that because if we're void of feeling and we're in that survivalism place, you're so fixated on your own preservation that you don't give a fuck about other things. Like it's just hard to do that from that place. And look at our planet. Like we've just been that in itself is the embodiment of the feminine, and we're just extracting resources and like we'll drill for oil anywhere. We don't care. It's just like constant take and raping and pillaging of these resources instead of taking a breath, connecting and bringing balance to both sides of us and realizing, hey, this is a garden that we're here to steward. How can we make this sustainable? How can we make this work for all of us and create that win-win so everybody feels cared for, everybody feels connected. We're in that place of oneness, which, as we know, like this is the Aquarian age. We're moving in that direction, but we are seeing like the pinnacle of the separation and the disconnection from that. And if we don't get together and have these conversations and create these spaces in the microcosms, like in as many places as we can all over the earth, how else would we heal this? It starts with you and I and all of us inside of our own garden, to then cultivate the bigger garden. And to me, it's like there's no more important conversation than this. It's like, let's come to the table. Let's face off with the fear and the emotion tied around it. Let's feel it all so we can feel the next part of the story. We can feel what it's like to be connected and supported with our community. We can feel what it's like to have abundance in your body instead of fucking lack and fear. And you can feel what it's like to love yourself and to feel like you're in community and you have people that care about you and have your back, and you want to do the same for them. Like let's really look at this shadow of numbness and this disconnect from our feminine, which is also our imagination, which is also our propensity to rest and receive, which we've been so disconnected from. And we're in this hyper masculine, like get out, grind, like produce as much as you can. And that's just leading us to destruction. That's the
Mm.
only road that goes down. And if we don't take a breath and step back and see it that way, then we're just going to make it so much harder for ourselves. And that's why when you said, Chris, feel it to heal it, there's no more truer words than that. And I think we'll learn, hey, when a trauma comes up or we have a really hard experience, we're going to learn to feel it right away. So that because we know that it'll get lodged in there and it'll just keep circulating and remanifesting itself until we feel it and heal it all the way. And then instead of going years through that process, we can just do it right in that moment, just like a gazelle does when it shakes off the energy after it escapes a lion chasing it. Like we have to learn to do that as human beings. It's so important right now.
It's essentially what I'm doing in this moment with you, having this conversation. And I hope this is an inspiration for anybody that's listening, because it hasn't been this easy for me to show up, call a brother, fucking cry, and allow myself to process my emotions in the raw of what I'm experiencing. But to actually record a video and do this right now. And that is what resourcing is all about. Like that you touched on this, the word, we've been pillaging, we've been raping this earth, we've been taking. But it's because we feel this lack within ourselves. It's because we
Mm-hmm.
feel this inadequacy. But what if we can resource differently? Because within the well of your own being is the ability to resource what it is you need. And in fact, that is the only way, because the projection of your external reality is based on your internal compass and internal landscape, your internal world, and what you are experiencing in this moment. It's all a fucking projection. And it's for us to become the masters of our reality. And through the feeling sense, which is the most important thing we can do, and going into that without attachment, without a judgment, without all of these things that cloud that, but just simply accept it, love it for what it is in this moment. And I think when we can do that fully, that energy just dissipates, the darkness leaves and the light shines through, and we're now becoming illuminated. We
Mm.
our Christ mind, the God mind, is illuminating our being. And from there we can then walk in the world with a greater capacity to hold light, to hold the vibration of peace and love and abundance for all. But it
Mm.
all starts on the inner planes. And anyone that is tuned in right now, really feel, breathe into this experience that Sean and I are having, to the words that we're sharing with you, and take in what resonates, discard what doesn't. But all in all, you are your own healer. You are your own guru. You have everything you need within you. But there are spaces in which we can support us all in excavating and in bringing those out.
Mm.
And so Sean and I have dedicated our lives, so many hours of mastery to be able to, and continue to, as eternal students, but also as transformational guides, to be able to steward and guide others on this path. Because the new way, the new paradigm of what is wanting to truly emerge really requires all of us doing this work and being extremely intentional about it and becoming the walking embodiment of what it means to be a divine masculine, what it means to be a divine feminine in this world.
Mm, so well said. Yeah, and just the last point I want to hit on is like this is our humanity. You know, I'm watching the show Severance right now, and the whole show. It's one of the most popular shows on TV
It's a good one.
anywhere, and it's a great show. But it's like that whole show is centered around technology that's going to help people to not have to feel pain,
Yep.
painful experiences, childbirth, going to the dentist, like whatever the thing is. And I'm like, this show is so popular for a reason. Like we're entering this kind of choice point, and Greg Braden does a great job highlighting what I'm about to say. But it's like we're trying to society out there is trying to, and this is kind of an extension of big pharma and these industries that are like that want there to be a problem reaction solution for you to feel like you're a victim to your pain. And hey, we have something that can help you with that. We have something that can take that pain away for you because you're a poor victim and we don't want you to have to feel that pain. But what if the pain is the only way through? The pain is steering you to mastery. The pain is steering you to who you actually are. And if you're not willing to feel it and you're not willing to embrace it as an experience, and you're stuck in the story of that thing, um, you're never going to find out who it is that you truly are. You're never going to connect to the essence of who you are. You're going to live in such a small fraction of what life actually is. You'll never know who you are. And everything out there is trying to take that away from us and trying to relieve this pain and stay comfortably numb. And I know this so well because I've been trapped in this for a long time. And for me, it was through like technology and different distractions and trying to unconsciously get away from something that I didn't want to have to feel within myself. So the urgency here, the message is, especially if you're a man and you're finding yourself in a place of like, guys, I get what you're saying, but I just don't even know how to feel. How do we do this? I know exactly where you're at and how that feels to be in that place. And that's why I said, fuck this. I'm going to put myself in places that's going to force me to do that. I'm going to go to the men's retreats. I'm going to go to the experience that scared the shit out of me. I'm going to use psychedelics to go into the unknown where I feel very comfortable. I'm going to face off with all the places that I've been so addicted to comfort, and I'm gonna have a period where I'm very uncomfortable. So I go outside of the emotional matrix that I've been locked into, and that just locks you in with thoughts. You're thinking and feeling the same thing over and over again. So that's why we do this. That's why we create these spaces for men to have that experience. And when you're in the energy of everybody doing it together, there's nothing more powerful than that. And Chris and I do this just as much for us too. So we can feel alive, so we can feel connected, so that we can face off and get uncomfortable. Because if we don't do this, we're going in a really dark direction. And again, it's part of our evolution. But the invitation here is to take it upon yourself to go through this process so that you're an invitation for others to do it around you. And so that's why we're here. And um, yeah, just what a powerful time, but also like a big choice point for all of us.
Massive choice point. That's what I'm perceiving in this moment as a splitting of timelines. And it's literally, these words are used a lot, right? And I want to be very mindful and cautious on how I use these words. Talk about timelines and timeline
Mm-hmm.
jumping and moving different realities. But this is a very real thing. We live it at a point where Sean just described as the choice point. It's a turning in the evolution of humanity and the consciousness of humanity. And it's so visceral right now. The veil is so incredibly thin. We have to be mindful of our thoughts, our beliefs, our words, everything we're speaking out. What reality are we truly choosing? Because there is inevitably going to be two different paths that we can chase. And ultimately, that comes down to fear and to love.
Yeah.
And if you want to break it down to be extremely simple, are you choosing fear or are you choosing love? Fear, constricting, tense, controlling, lack, scarcity, all of these adjectives to describe fear. Love, openness, receptivity, this abundance, this compassion. It's not the easy road. Otherwise, everybody would choose it. Fear is more tempting. There's so many different lures out there that will bring us into fear. It's so much easier to choose fear than it is to choose love. So
Yeah.
much fucking easier. But in the courageous heart, in the lion heart, you choose love because love is all that there is. And when you choose love, you choose yourself and you
Hmm.
choose the higher timeline of what this can be and the script that you're writing for your life to align with your soul's destiny. That is all to choose love, to align with financial prosperity, with unconditional love, with all of the beautiful partnerships, connections that are available in this moment are only here on the other side of radically claiming love as your reality.
Hmm. What more of an act of love is there than to come home to yourself and say, I'm not going to hold the energy of shame and guilt and fear and lack in my body anymore. I am not going to keep myself in that prison, cycling through those lower vibrations all day long. I'm done doing that. I'm going to radically love who I am. I'm going to radically encourage myself. I'm going to be a light for other people around me. I'm going to be the source of love. And therefore, I will receive that same level of love back to me from the outside world in a beautiful harmonic balance. Like that is the new love story that is knocking on our door. It's,
Mm,
hey, you don't have to live that way anymore. Let love in, because if you choose fear, you're always going to create from fear, and it's going to be that over and over and over again, and that will go the rest of your life if you don't stop it now. This is the only moment you'll ever have, and you've probably heard that a million times, but how often do you actually let that land? That fear will follow you till the end unless you powerfully choose love and a desire to experience what your life can look like in that place of love and abundance and prosperity and all the beautiful things Chris said that come with making that choice. And do that for you because you're worthy of it. And you're here to do
mm,
that, not to be in a prison, not to feel like shit all the time and be stressed out all the time. Fuck that. Let's get rid of that narrative forever from this planet. And it starts with you and I. Like, let's do that right now. We have that possibility right now. And that's why we're recording this video, because we're feeling this so deeply. So I hope this lands, because
mm,
there's nothing more important than this. It's
mm,
right now and it's here, not some later time. Choose it right now.
mm. That's it, man. That's it. That's the declaration. That's the declaration that we're all needing to make in ourselves in this moment. It is in this presence that all is created. Seek the kingdom within, and all shall be given to you without. That's the choice. Go within, find the kingdom, find the queendom, reside within that space, because within that space is love. Within that space is everything you could possibly desire and so much more.
Hmm.
So thank you guys for tuning in, for listening. For all the men that are listening to this message, if you want to go deeper, if you want to step into the realm of this work and transformation and begin to truly live the life of your dreams, to create the love, the connection you desire, to live within beautiful prosperity in all means, Sean and I have some spaces open for our retreat in June called Elemental. Elemental is a 4-day nature based experience connecting with the elements within and without, allowing you to rekindle that relationship to your true spiritual nature, for you to step into your power as a man, to hold that anchor, to be that grounded force, that protector, that provider, that leader that this world needs as we step into this new paradigm. If that's you, link is below this video, and we hope to see you on the other side.
Mm.
Peace.